is 9:30, and it's time for a little KCIM Sports Rewind. In fact, we're going to warn you right now, we're going to go 7 seconds over the top of the hour. Jeff Blankman will explain why right now.
Yes, John, as the song was ending, says 9:30 on the dot. And I says, well, I know I have my phone matched up with the computers. It switched to 9:30 like 10 seconds ago, and you said, no, it was 7.
7 seconds, according to my computer. So we're going to do a bonus 7 seconds of KCIM Sports Rewind this morning. So you tuned in on a great morning.
Do we ever end at 10 o'clock?
Rarely, if ever.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I know I usually do when I run the board.
Oh. Yes, you're known for being prompt and all of that, and not over talking at all.
Yeah, I think there was one week that Casey and I went over.
I don't know if you could ever have a 5-minute conversation with Jeff.
No, it is not possible. You will wind up talking about the Nebraska women's bowling team or something.
Hey, our rifle team,
Oh, good Lord. Well, hello, Parkston, South Dakota, by the way. We got somebody streaming up there from Parkston, South Dakota.
Yeah. Hopefully the road trip's going well for him.
Yeah, hopefully no snow up there in that area. I don't think there should be.
No.
With all these temperatures we had lately.
Hopefully he got some rest. He was a little worn out after state wrestling.
We're talking Honnold.
Yes.
You know what? That was yeoman's work.
It was.
He and Bill Kane, man.
Yep.
I don't think I've ever been on air for 3 straight hours. I mean, you play songs, you do things like that. I've done basketball games and stuff like that by myself. But that's draining.
It is. And I will tell you, having sat up there with Bill for a number of years, you wouldn't think that just sitting around for 3.5 hours for a session or 4 hours, would be that tiresome. But you do. You get worn out because you're so intense while the kids are wrestling, and there's so much going on to figure out what mat they're going to be on so you don't miss anybody and all that stuff that, it wears you out. I know Bill even said when I dropped him off, Saturday afternoon, I said, hey, Bill, thanks. He goes, yeah. I says, how you feeling? He goes, I won't deny. He says 4 days of this. He goes, I'm a little tuckered out.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Because if it was like, oh, you're just talking, you're just sitting. No, you're tracking every wrestler out there. You got to be aware. It's like going to a 4-hour job interview.
Yes,
that's what I equate air shifts to in ball games and things like that. So, they did a terrific job. We're going to talk a lot more about that coming up here in a few more minutes. Let's start. First of all, I did an interview the other morning. I'm going to do a little humble brag here. Nick Nurse.
Yeah.
He made the news, of course, here locally, and it was funny because Kim goes, just text him and see when he can do an interview. And I'm thinking, this is the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. like I'm going to cut, hey coach, how you doing? And sure enough, I text him yesterday morning. Within 2 minutes, I got a reply. It says, good morning, John. Yeah, I can do that interview anytime you want to. Let's go. Let's do it.
Yep.
I mean, just crazy good guy.
Yeah, he is. We've had him on here a couple of times.
After they won the championship, in fact, in Toronto. I mean, we're like, dude, you should still be celebrating. But he came on air with us.
He did.
But sorry to interrupt, but you know how cool that is to have somebody of him, still be so involved in the community here, small town of Carroll, Iowa, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah, still comes back, and when he does, I don't bother him every time he comes back, because sometimes it'd be nice for the guy to be able to just come home and see friends and family, and be private, and stuff. So, but I know once a year he comes back, and we usually swing out and grab a quick interview with him. I don't try to take too much time, because I know last year when he was out at the golf course with his, he had the staff from the Sixers and some players and stuff there, but like everybody that was there was going up and wanting to talk to him, and understandable. Well, it was a lot of old classmates and friends and stuff that probably don't get to see him all the time. So I took just a few minutes to kind of sit down and chat, but he's always very willing to do that.
Can you imagine the demands of being an NBA coach?
I know.
Unreal.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what they do with the golf course and maybe some of the big charity events he might be bringing back to this area. I mean, that would be really cool.
Yes. I think it's really good for the area. Him having the golf course, I mean, just his connections in the world, the people that he could drag in here, like John mentioned, the charity events that could be held here. It's great. It's going to be really good for the area, I think.
I did ask him, I said flat out, if it were any other golf course other than the Carroll Carroll Country Club, would you have even taken the email? He said, absolutely not.
Right.
Yeah, so this is the only one I'd do that for. He doesn't own any other golf courses. He's not really that into golf. He plays golf, and he enjoys it. He played with his dad all the time. He says, that's my favorite memory of the Carroll Country Club is playing with him. But, yeah, no other golf course would get him involved like this one.
Well, I'm sure, having the memories of playing with his dad out there probably was part of the reason why, when he got the message that there was some help needed, that he was willing to jump in and throw his hand in there and help out. So.
Yeah, it's worst kept secret in Carroll. Everybody knew that they were going after it, but it finally got signed and all the ink dried on it last Friday, so I can't wait to see what happens there. I did ask Nick before we went on the air, so what about that All-Star game? Did you? I mean, the final score was like 211 to 186.
Yeah,
that was just obscene. There was just literally no guys weren't even running down the floor to play defense or anything.
Yeah, I don't know how the only way they maybe fix it is to get rid of it. You're never going to force guys to play defense. But it's kind of gotten out of control.
I saw somebody say, and I understand it. For them, this is their vacation week.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So. Do you really want to be going all hard and full go like you do in a regular season game when you're getting ready to be prepared for the playoffs and stuff like that? I get why fans don't like it, but at the same time, I understood that tweet saying, for them, this is a fun vacation week. Do you really want to get injured and ruin your chances at potentially making the playoffs in the second half of the season?
I completely understand where you're going there. I'll just throw this out, and I'm, again, not that it has to be the way it was in the past kind of a guy, but it's no different than it was for the guys in the 70s and 80s. It was their off week, too, and they were getting geared up for the playoffs, and they still went out and played hard, and they still went out and competed on the defensive end. So why is it different for these guys than guys 20 years ago? Kobe Bryant didn't take the All-Star game off and not compete. So, to me, I guess, I get the fun, and even back then, they maybe didn't play real hard defense in the first and second and third quarters, but they locked it down in the fourth quarter because it was about winning and it was about competing. And I think if you went back to more of that, I think people would be okay with it.
Now, Nick did say, he goes, a couple of years back, he goes, I think he was on the staff for one of the All-Star teams. He goes, greatest exhibition of basketball he's ever seen with Kawhi Leonard. He said they were paying the players.
Yes.
If they won, they got a bigger total. He goes, that was the best, most phenomenal basketball you have ever seen. He goes, I will never forget that moment. I forget what year he said, but he just rattled off all these All-Star names. He was like, man, they played as hard as they could to win that game.
Yeah, and I will say I didn't get to watch it on Sunday. We were doing rewind stuff and getting prepared.
You saved yourself because it would have been it's frustrating as a fan to see that. I don't tune into that to see them just going, oh, okay, you take it, you lay it in this time, or whatever.
Yeah, I think the dunks probably in the All-Star game were probably better than the dunks in the dunk contest, though, is what I'm guessing.
No.
So it sounded like the dunk contest was pretty major flop this year.
I stopped watching the NBA All-Star game years ago just for that reason.
Right.
So, anyway, so check out that interview. It's available online right now. Nick Nurse, once again, part of a group that's taking over the Carroll Country Club, and we can't wait to see what happens from there. Caitlin Clark made a little history last Thursday, and I wanted to back up the tape a little bit. Nathan Cones, I was talking to him on the air. I said, how do you think it's going to happen? And he goes, oh, probably 6-7 minutes in the game. I said, I don't think so.
No, she scored the first day.
And I was like, I think it's going to happen in the first 3 minutes, and she's going to hit a logo 3 for the record. And she even laughed after. She goes, you knew that's how it was going to go down. And it did. And she went off for 49 that night.
Yeah.
School record.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think the funny thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Casey, but I thought I heard her say that she thought Coach was going to call a timeout after she hit it. She was kind of tired, but she realized Coach didn't call the timeout, so she had to kind of hurry back and try and play defense real quick. And I think it caught her off guard because I think she anticipated Coach Bluter calling the timeout after she hit that shot to break the record. So
the timeout was called on the next Iowa possession. But
she had to run back and play defense, and it kind of she was already. I'm sure she put a lot of emotion into those first 8 points, and so congratulations to her. Like said it before, if she's not the best player that's ever played the game, she's certainly in that discussion. Absolutely, certainly in that discussion.
I love that, we have somebody from Iowa at the top of a record book, because she could have went and played anywhere in the country.
Yep.
She had offers from Notre Dame and all sorts of different places.
But she chose to stay in Iowa, but I do have to say this. I think the freshman from USC come 4 years, we'll have a chance to break it. So who knows how long it'll last. But the freshman from USC is really good, and she'll have a chance to break it. So,
do you think she sticks around another year in college ball?
No. And for this reason, a lot of people say, that she needs to come back because she's going to lose her NIL money. I read an article on The Athletic here. All of these companies that are sponsoring her now are going to sponsor her in the WNBA.
Yeah. They're endorsement deals. They're not NIL.
Yep.
They're just NIL is just a way for her to do the endorsement deals.
Yeah. So she's going to make her WNBA salary. Plus, I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't even pick up more endorsements, because whichever team drafts her, there's going to be companies in those communities that are probably going to sign her as well.
I don't know how the WNBA pay scales work, but I wouldn't be surprised if she's one of the highest paid WNBA players to sign.
Yeah. The only question I don't know, and that is if they have a pay scale for incoming rookies. So it might take her a couple of years, but she'll make money. And if I'm the WNBA, man, I find a way to increase salaries, because I would have done it last year. I'd have been like, we're going to increase salaries because we're going to do whatever it takes to get her in, because you imagine what she's going to do for the WNBA.
Especially what she's doing for college basketball right now. If you're the commissioner of the NBA, WNBA, you're sitting here thinking, okay.
Yeah. We could have had her a year ago.
Yeah. How do I get her now?
Well, networks are paying much more for women's basketball rights now.
Women's sports in general.
Streaming there. I mean, that game, and it's insane what she's done for the sport and how it's exploded. Yeah, the WNBA, I'm sure they're going to throw out as many rules as they possibly can to get her to go.
That's why I'm saying I wonder if she'll sign one of the biggest rookie contracts in
WNBA. Yeah, absolutely, and should.
And she's earned every bit of it. And I love seeing the little girl. There's a lot of posts on social media, little girl watch parties when she set the record and stuff, and just going crazy. And even it comes down to the local level. We just had Ashley Schabel, Kurt Baumhover, and Justin Yetmar with the Court Classic. Yeah. They have 24 girls teams in the tournament this year, and that's going to happen on Sunday.
By far the most ever.
A huge amount, and I think you can draw a parallel back to Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, I just actually had this conversation with Ashley Kaler, the Glidden Ralston girls coach, yesterday when I wrapped up the season with her with an interview. And I've been saying it kind of all year long. We've struggled for years now with numbers for girls basketball, and I'm waiting for the Caitlin Clark effect. And it's not going to be with high school age kids, but you watch an Iowa women's game now, and it's little kids, little girls all over the place. And if there's a chance that basketball can be rebuilt and reestablished and get the younger generation interested in playing basketball in this state, it's a player like Caitlin Clark. She can, I don't want to say save basketball, but in a way she can save girls basketball, because there are way too many programs right now that are 10, 11 or less players, and these are even at bigger schools.
And I hope the game isn't all about the three, the bomb of a logo three, but just the interest alone in the sport is great. Yep. We got to move on. We got to get to some other things here. First of all, trivia question. I think this is maybe one of the easiest ones. This is only a 4-part answer.
Okay.
So this is like taking a break for you guys.
Yeah, we're on vacation.
The big four sports, NFL, NBA, MLB, and NHL, all have a team with a bear mascot. We're going to ask you which four they are. So there you go. Pretty simple. I mean, I think the NFL is pretty explanatory.
Hockey?
So where do you want to start? You want to start with basketball playoffs? You want to go wrestling?
We can start with wrestling. We'll wrap that up here real quick. We talked a little bit about it earlier. I do want to thank Jeff Honnold and Bill Kane, for going down and broadcasting first, and then I want to thank our coaches as well. I was down on the floor trying to get video interviews with all of the kids, and not easy when it's 18 of them. But so I owe something to the kids. I want to thank them, and I want to thank the coaches as well. They always left me know where their camp was going to be at, where they were going to be going, so that I could go and find them easily. Yeah, when you're not able to follow them always completely straight off of the mat. The other thing I want to apologize for is if they ever felt like I was hovering, because there was times that a kid would lose and they would walk off the mat, and I'm walking 10 steps behind them to the camp, and then I'm standing 10 yards away from their camp waiting for them to be ready to talk. And it's not like I was trying to pressure them to hurry. It was more of I just didn't want to have them go away from the camp, and then I didn't end up catching them for the interview. But sometimes, I'm trying to hide behind a pylon, or I'm trying to hide behind a block wall or something, so that I'm not in their line of sight, or I'm trying to stand behind a coach.
I don't know about you, Casey, but I just pictured him trying to hide behind a pylon.
I did too.
But I want to thank him. I got video interviews almost every single match after every kid wrestled. So I appreciate that.
The coverage was outstanding.
Yes. So we thank everybody. Thank all of our sponsors as well. I hate to say it this way, but I'm sure if you talk to most coaches that went down and even the wrestlers, there's going to be a little disappointment. 18 guys go down and only 2 wrestling on Saturday. So that means only 2 made the podium. Not that our guys didn't wrestle well. I just think that everybody anticipated maybe going down there and having a little bit more overall success. I know for Carroll to not get anybody onto the podium and anybody onto Saturday, they were really frustrated and disappointed. But the great thing about Coach Noggle, and you talk to those guys, it's really about the family that they've created.
You could hear it in his interview he did on Saturday morning.
Yeah, absolutely. And he even said it in the interview, thanks for making me break up Blankman. So, but there's so much emotion put into it. But,
Coach, we live to make people cry.
Yeah. I told him, I says, heck, I almost choked up a little bit and asking him some of the questions. But, I thought Cooper Ludwig wrestled pretty well. I thought Odubbo and Clucky wrestled really well. I was really impressed with both the Polking boys, Quentin and Kieran, I thought wrestled well. Kel Nelson wrestled well, Chase Regaller as well. I think Chase goes back to that first one where he had the lead, and he said it in the interview, I relaxed a little bit thinking that, I could just kind of wait out the time and just kind of get through the rest of that period. He ended up getting pinned and ended up losing. So, for Kemper, Kobe Pierce, I think surprised some people. Tate Barrett had a nice run. Jake Earlbeck almost made Saturday. I thought Bryce Wiskus wrestled really, really well. He might have been the guy that stood out the most out of the Kemper wrestlers for them. Lane Elmquist, the sophomore down at Audubon, had kind of a nice run and a learning experience for him. And then, I think the same for Nayland Galbronson up at South Central Calhoun, kind of a learning thing. Brock Natras was really disappointed after his loss in the second round, which was his opening match, but bounced back and ended up 8th on the medal stand. So he got a medal his senior year, so congratulations to him. And then the 2 ESAC boys, they might have been the biggest story, to kind of come out of the state wrestling tournament. Braden Burns picked up his 150th career victory and stuff, and, ends up not medaling, but, to get that and came 1 match away from making the medals. And then Charlie Veit, him and Coop, you talk about 2 guys that gutted things out. Cooper's been banged up with a neck issue most of the year, and you hate to bring it up.
He had that going back to football, didn't he?
He did, absolutely. But for him to get through the entire season, he was wearing kind of a neck brace type of a thing down at the state wrestling tournament. And then people probably don't realize that Charlie was injured as well. Got injured in the football season, missed about 4 or 5 games, needed surgery. Found out that he could, if he could handle the pain, he could wrestle and stuff. And Charlie's one of the toughest kids I think I know, and he handled the pain this year, and then injured a knee before the state tournament. So he had to forfeit 1 match down there because he couldn't really walk. But he fought through it and stuff. And I think the cool thing for him was the kid that he was wrestling when he injured his knee late in the season at a tournament, he beat for 7th place. And he manhandled him. He's out there, barely can walk, a shoulder that's dangling.
One arm, one leg.
And dominates a kid for 7th place. So special to be able to see him go out and do that and get 7th place in his senior year. So.
I don't have anything else to add. You hit it all in the nose. I go back to Charlie just with how the shoulder and then the knee and for him to dominate the way he did in some of his matches this year is just it's phenomenal. It's crazy.
Yeah, you hate to say it this way. I think if Cooper's healthy, he's probably on the medal stand. I think if Charlie's healthy, you might have saw him top 5. I don't know if he gets to Saturday night. There would have been a shot at it, but I think Charlie finishes, top 5 for sure if he's healthy, even remotely healthy. He probably finishes top 5.
I agree.
Expanded
format this last year. Like it?
2 years. This is the second year of it. Yeah, I'm going to say what the coaches said. I had conversations with all of the coaches. I don't think they like it. One, the way they set it up, so if you wrestle on Wednesday, you're guaranteed to wrestle on Thursday, lose or not. So if you lose your first match, you don't wrestle again until Thursday. There's complaints from parents and kids and the coaches, most of them teachers. So, you have to stay in a hotel again the next night. So if you wrestle Wednesday morning, you're probably down there Tuesday night, you stay in a hotel. You lose your first match, you come back, you wrestle right away on Thursday morning, you lose, you go home. But that means that all of the parents and grandparents that are down there have to stay at another hotel another night. I think they'd like to see them have that opportunity to wrestle 2 matches on Wednesday, so that way you don't have to,
especially if you lose right away.
Yep, if you lose right away, because if you lose your first 2 matches on Wednesday, then you'd be able to go home. I know Coach Nagel even made a comment. He says, this is another extra day away from me being in the classroom. And this is a guy that really cares about his wrestling family, but also cares about the students that he deals with. And I think he feels bad for having to be away from them an extra day. And then,
it's not all fun. I mean,
it's not.
Kids look at it as a lot of fun, but it's an economic problem for some people, and it's an educational issue for some other people.
Yeah, and I don't know how to say this without sounding bad. And again, this came from
don't worry,
coaches.
You've done that many times.
No, I know I have. You hear coaches say it's not as much of an honor now to get qualified because it's almost gotten too easy in a way, is what they're saying.
They said that about the football playoffs too.
Absolutely.
4 teams out of every district are going to go.
Yep. So you're having that same kind of discussion and stuff. And there's people on both sides. There are people that love it, but I didn't talk to one coach down there that really liked having the 24 and liked having the expanded, day of having now 4 days.
And on the flip side, there are some positives because you get good stories like Kieran Pokin was seeded 24th.
Right.
Wins 3 matches, almost gets to Saturday.
Yes.
So there are good things coming out of it, but I agree, it's you don't have some of those first round matches, go like that because it's not good wrestling.
Right, yeah. And that's the one thing that the coaches did kind of say is in the past when they were only taking 2, which they took now, but you would have it where a third guy probably was a ranked wrestler, but there was 3 ranked wrestlers, but only 2 could go. Now that third guy's going to make it, or whatever and stuff. It gives them more of an option to be able to do that.
It just makes more sense than to wrestle twice on the opening day. Let's have everybody wrestle twice on that opening day, and then the tournament really kind of begins the next day. It's kind of like
the one thing I didn't agree with how they did the bracket is that they wrestled the first and second round. To me, they used to do it. If you won your first match, you were done for the day.
Right.
I think you
did that if you got a bye in the first round. So if you were one of the top 8 seeds, you were done. If you were seed 9 through 24 and you won that first round, you had to come back.
But exactly, you're essentially if you win, you're essentially having to wrestle twice that day.
Right.
I would much rather see it the opposite way, where if you win, or just if you have to wrestle that first round, you wrestled the second round that day as well, but also wrestled the consolations.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get confused because the schedule says first round, second round, and first round consolations on that first day on Wednesday. But the first round consolation is technically a bye. So everybody that lost in the first round got to bye through the first round consolations into Thursday to wrestle in the second round consolations on the backside. But everybody keeps thinking, well, where's that second match for all those guys? It's a bye, so they technically don't have to wrestle a second time.
I mean, to me, when I look at a tournament, when you go and play basketball or you go and wrestle like this, that first day you're playing a lot of games.
Right.
And you should be that should be the day you wrestle 3 or 4 matches.
Yeah, I don't think
that's the way.
To me, at state, I don't think you should wrestle more than 2 in a day. The energy that it's a different mentality, a different energy that gets burned. I don't think you should wrestle more than 2. The nice way they do have it set up is that if you win, besides that first day, if you win the first round, you wrestle a second round match. But after that, if you win and you're on the front side, you wrestle 1 match a day. Mm-hmm. So if you win your second round matchup, you move into the quarters, you wrestle your quarters on Thursday, you wrestle your semis on Friday, and you wrestle the finals on Saturday. So it's just once a day that you have to wrestle.
I think you just forfeited your 7 extra seconds of rewind right there with that explanation of all of that, because I see a chalkboard with lines going all over the place.
Yes.
Like you're trying to explain nuclear physics.
Wrestling people will understand it.
I'm glad they got something out of that conversation, because I was lost in the first part of that. Anyway, this is KCIM Sports Rewind. It's brought to you exclusively by St. Anthony Regional Hospital. Hospital. We're back in 30 seconds.
As the athletes at your house prepare for hard work and fun of the season, remember that St. Anthony Rehab Services provides physical therapy for any sports injury that may sideline your member of the team. Sports injuries can plague kids of all ages and keep them from playing the sport they love. Athletes will be under the direct supervision of a certified and licensed healthcare professional in the newly renovated sports performance facility. If an injury is keeping your athlete out of the game, call St. Anthony Rehabilitation Services at 794-5000 for sports injury and treatment rehab.
It's KCIM Sports Rewind. Sports Director Jeff Blankman, Assistant Sports Director Casey Miners, myself, John Ryan, and the trivia question, in case you missed it earlier. The big four teams, NFL, NBA, MLB, and NHL. Throw in all the alphabet there. They have a team mascot named after a bear. So we're going to do that trivia question here coming up in a few more minutes. No Googling, Blankman.
I'm not.
Put the phone down. Put the phone down.
I'm answering a text message. I'll let you see.
All right. So, Casey, talk to me. Carroll Tigers were our last girls team alive. They played Saturday down at Council Bluffs.
Oh, it wasn't pretty in the first half.
No.
You know, if you were listening, it was not pretty in the first half. I'll put that point blank, and I think Coach Cook knows that too. But I really think the second half team that showed up for Carroll, they cut it down to 12 in the fourth quarter. If they would have played in the first, Carroll has a good chance to knock off Lewis Central, who was ranked 8th, and play coming up. Would it be Wednesday night, or something like that?
Yeah, actually would have been tonight,
yeah.
Tuesday
so
night.
they would have had a chance to play. But I mean, the great season, their best record that they've had, 12-10 since Coach Cooks took over. And I think I talked with Katie, and she talked about it in the after the game. Nobody knew what this Carroll team could have done. You know, there was a lot of question marks coming into the year, and to have her best record since they've been there at 12-10 says a lot of how, you know, I think that the girls on that team get along with each other, the chemistry, and just how much they enjoy playing basketball, as well as, you know, just exceeding expectations.
And they're young. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're going to lose a couple of seniors on there.
They returned 4 starters and 3 bench players.
Right. Yeah.
So the trajectory of this team is looking really good.
They got to play in a tough Raccoon River Conference. You never know how that's going to go out. But yeah, next year the future looks bright for Carroll.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Caitlin Hayden was really the only one that came into this year with much varsity experience. She was a starter the year before. So as Casey said, you really didn't know what to expect from this team coming into the year. So, the only other girls team we have left is Coon Rapids Baird. They'll play tomorrow night against Newell Fonda up in Fort Dodge to head to the state tournament. So, what a run for them, being able to do it without one of their top players on the court and to kind of go out and dominate the teams that they've played here so far.
Yeah, and I think so. I think that's an important thing too. And it's their. If I'm wrong on this, blame Nick Brinks, because he said in the broadcast that this is their first 21 season in over a decade.
Yeah, I would probably say that you would have to go back to the Katie Dentlinger, Mary Halverson teams and stuff, and that hard to believe that was over a decade ago. But that's over a decade
the job
ago.
that Caitlin's done since she's took over is fantastic. I mean, and you look at it, this team's 20-3, getting a chance to play for the state tournament coming up tomorrow night.
Yeah, and by the way, I love the fact that Casey is now grown up and gotten to the fact where if you're wrong, you blame somebody else. That's the way we roll on this program, man. Congratulations, nicely done. Nick deserved it. I mean, come on, we all know that.
Yeah. He'll call us out on something when he goes back and listens.
People go back and examine everything we said and said, here's where you were wrong on everything. So that's tomorrow night, but they're not afraid of Newell Fonda.
No.
They're going in there saying, you know what, they haven't faced us either. So.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, they play a style defense that they're hoping will give Newell Fonda a lot of problems, and then if they can create turnovers and stuff like that, they're gonna do well. They're gonna have to shoot the basketball well, and I think the biggest thing is they can't turn it over themselves. They're gonna have to handle Newell Fonda's pressure.
Got to move on to boys basketball. Sorry, Casey, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
We got about a minute left of the program, but talk about boys basketball and what we've seen. You had Carroll High last night.
Carroll High looked really good. Their last 2 games.
Outside of the first 3 minutes.
Yeah. First 3.5 minutes where they gave up a few threes, got down 11-4 after that. Flat dominated that game. This is 2 games in a row now. They beat Harlan 81-50 on the road the other day and then blew out Denison on the road. This is the team I think they thought that they were going to have at the beginning of the year. This might have been the team that beat Kemper at the beginning of the season. Now they go to number 2 ADM on Thursday. They were in both games against ADM this year, so I think they've got a chance to win that one. They win that one, they might be the favorite to come out of that district and head on to that sub-state and head to state. 3 3 other teams going tonight. Coon Rapids Bayard plays Madrid. That should be a really entertaining matchup. Madrid comes in ranked number 2, and then we've got actually 4 local teams playing tonight. We've got the doubleheader over at Jefferson with Kemper against South Central Calhoun. I think that could be an 80-something game. Not that both of those teams don't play defense, but they score like crazy.
Looking at the matchup, that's the game tonight I'm most excited for. And with ESAC at Underwood tonight, it's a neutral site, but both teams are having to drive a ways to get there.
Yeah. It'll be an easier drive for Underwood because it's straight down the interstate, I should say, to Stewart. But that one's an entertaining one because Underwood, I've heard all year long, athletic, can shoot, but ESAC physical, plays a 2-3 zone. They got guys inside, Ryan Clare and Luke Wright. If Sam Julin's hitting from the outside and Caleb Eichhorn's hitting that mid-range jumper, they're good enough to scare the heck out of Underwood and have a chance to win that game. So I could see 3 of our teams coming out tonight. We're guaranteed that we lose one with Kemper South Central.
But we're also guaranteed to have a team in the sub-state finals.
Yes, absolutely, which is awesome. So, but do want to take a second here. I want to thank a couple of friends of mine last Thursday. We were announcer short with me down at State Wrestling, so I want to thank Tony and Ben. Tony covers the Iowa Wolves and was willing to drive down and cover the Coon Rapids Bayard Audubon game on Thursday night.
They got a good
help
one.
us out, and they got an overtime game that was fun. Yeah. So,
by the way, Harlan getting rolled by Creston was that
in overtime, 56-51.
Yeah. That wasn't the right score. I was thinking, but man, when's the last time Harlan lost in the opening round of the playoffs?
Maybe the 1950s.
That's probably not an exaggeration.
Yeah. So
that one got my attention, is that they lost to Creston in that opening game.
Mine as well. I noticed when I told Coach Beeson last night the scores from the sub-state they're in. When I mentioned the Harlan score, I think it kind of you noticed the little head move. I think it caught him off guard a little bit. So
that's what caught me off guard too when I looked it up this morning. So let's talk about trivia question. The Big Four teams have nicknames after a bear. First of all, NFL team would be
Chicago. The Bears.
The Bears.
Chicago Bears.
Sorry. Ding. There we go. Yeah. Major League Baseball.
The Bears.
Why Cubs?
Cubs.
Yeah.
How about the NBA?
NBA.
Grizzlies.
Okay. NHL. Here's the kicker.
I can think of the logo in my head right now, but I can't think of where it's at.
Is it Vancouver? They don't even exist anymore, do they?
No, not Vancouver.
They're the Canucks, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know for NHL.
This is the kicker one, right? This is the one that's like, okay.
Yeah, I haven't watched the NHL since it was Detroit and Colorado always playing for the Stanley Cup, and that was the 90s.
Yeah. All right, Jeff Honnold got the 4 correct. We can't say that he didn't cheat, though, because he wasn't sitting here.
He always cheats.
There you go. Yeah, that's correct. You want the answer?
Yeah, because I'll never guess.
The Boston Bruins.
Oh.
Bruins or Bears?
Okay.
Well, you think about it, UCLA.
Yeah.
UCLA Bruins.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Wouldn't have thought of that one ever.
Yeah.
All right, so there you go. That's your trivia question. That is KCIM Sports Rewind for this week. Again, catch a podcast available in a couple of moments here online.
Western Iowa's news and classic hit station is 1380 AM, 95.1